Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to continue the compact disc A to Z. So a lot of individual. I forgot that Ken Andrews in the last video was for the band On, and he worked with Abandoned Pools. I couldn't remember that when I was going through that, but and Kevin Moore of Dream Theater after he left Dream Theater was doing Chroma Key in the early days of Chroma Key containers. I know he did one tour with On, but Ken Andrews isn't from Canada. He's from like Seattle, but he's also lived in he's lived in LA, I guess, maybe. Anyway, he's kind of an electronic artist, but so moving on in the A's, and then these aren't in perfect like 100% alphabetical order, but it's relatively close. So I have a bunch of CDs from this band, and they're not around. They eventually changed their name. Yes, okay. So I have this is the Apex Theory. Sort of heavy art rock, progressive art rock band, a little bit like Fair to Midland, a little bit like Opus Dei, a lot of these bands that were popping up in the mid to late 2000s. So I have, I think this is their first full length. It's called Topsy Turvy. I'm not as keen on this. I got this at Zia Records. I'm not as keen on some of their records. There's only a couple that I really like. I remember I was thinking I was gonna like them more than I did. This looks like Marillion's Marbles, kind of. Or Marillion.com, but it's the same similar design. But yeah, Topsy Turvy. I forget where they're from, but somewhere on the West Coast, I want to say. And this came out. You know, it's like Christian was telling me that I should just remove these stickers. I like keeping them for like timestamp purposes. I want to say this came out like 2002, 2003. Does have a date on here. 2002. Yeah. Anyway, they were like Jane's Addiction. You could put them in the alt rock category in like 90s. They had definitely evidence of some of in their sound. But so then I have what is a like a promo of some kind called Random Bursts. Which came out, it's a promo of some kind 2001. So that was the year before. So maybe this was like a sampler. It's like a similar style to the Topsy Turvy debut record, but probably some of the songs on here. Shh was one of them. I remember that. But actually, this looks like a list. This is 12 tracks, so maybe this is their first. I don't know their history off the top of my head perfectly, but I know that their early stuff didn't do as much for me. But and they had this EP right here called this is just a self-titled. I got this at Amoeba under clearance when I got one of the amoebas I went to. Probably Berkeley. That's the one I went to the most. And this came out in 2001 too. So they were really active in the early 2000s, the Apex Theory. Yeah, this looks like an EP for this Random Burst. So Random Burst must have been their debut. I thought that was Topsy Turvy, but I know that more people know Topsy Turvy, but this is like an EP because it has on it Hope Diggy, Bullshed, Swing This, 4RAs, and Trustees. But so yeah, I wouldn't call their early stuff as progressive or artsy. It was more just like alternative rock, you could call it. But so this is the one that I probably feel like is the one that I this is the one that got me more into them. I heard about this. It's called "In That Sky Is Something Watching" from 2004. And it's an EP. That's kind of what they just did. They just did a lot of EPs. Unfortunately, they didn't do a lot of full lengths. Um, but this came out in 2004, and I haven't listened to it in a long time. I don't think it's on Spotify or anything like that. But yeah, Stockton, California. So, and the last one is the one that is my favorite, and this is also an EP. And the thing about this is it's just one track. It's called Light Post, and it came out, I want to say 2007. I think it was 2007. And yeah, I know that Dave Navarro like had them on his like internet talk show, interviewed some of the guys after they changed their name after this came out to Mount Helium, MT period Helium. And the Mount Helium album that came out wasn't as good, unfortunately. They also did a tour with a band called The Casket Salesman, who I should have one of their CDs too. I was really excited to see that tour. I can't remember if it didn't come here. I forget. I was like thinking I'm finally gonna see the Apex Theory, but yeah, Light Post is a 15-minute epic that's progressive art rock. I mean, it's got good riffs, good dynamics. It's kind of poppy at points. very melodic, very atmospheric. It's 5 movements, as you can see there. Um, so yeah, it's one of the best tracks written of the 2000s in my mind. Like this is required listing for me. I don't even know if this is on YouTube. I'm sure it might be on a Bandcamp page, but this is required listing for anyone who likes modern progressive art rock. So that's the Apex Theory. I want to make sure I don't screw this up. So the next band I'm going to show, I have a bunch of CDs for, the two Apple bands actually. The Apples in Stereo, the Elephant Six band. I have their final 2 records. Their final record, Travelers of Time and Space from 2010. Sugary power pop with a lot of psychedelia, very Brian Wilson influence, a Beach Boys influence, and also ELO, highly ELO. There's also a little like the singer who does the harmony vocals on one of these songs, Robert Schneider. Of course, Robert Schneider became like a mathematician. He's like a professor now. But I saw the Apples in Stereo a couple times live. But this is their swan song. It's kind of a concept album. A lot of their records were long. The Elephant Six bands I don't like. You know, Bandit in the Airplane Over the Sea. Neutral Milk Hotel at all. I can't stand the vocalist. Olivia Tremor Control. I'm okay on. They kind of meander. But Apples were the one. I mean, I never got into of Montreal either, but then the one before that, which I think is their best, I have this record on vinyl, I believe. It's one of these two I have on vinyl, but it doesn't have any artwork. This is New Magnetic Wonder from 2007. This is the last album with their drummer Hillary Sidney, who was in a relationship, I think, with Robert Schneider. Robert Schneider's the singer and songwriter, but he also worked with Neutral Milk Hotel and a lot of the Elephant Six stuff. Also another epic. But it had a bunch of hits that got commercial success. Elijah Wood, the actor, was a big fan. He's in like 1 or 2 of the videos. Energy, that song had still being used on commercials and like different movies and stuff like that and TV shows. The Beautiful Machine parts 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Kind of a suite of sort, but same old drag. The ELO and Jeff Lynne vocoder use is just all over this, but it's in a good way. And then I have Fun Trick Noisemaker, which is not a print CD this is 95, because this is 2007. So they had a few different records between this that I listened to a couple of them a few years ago, and it was more punk. It was more punk and garage, very much garage rock. The production got stepped up, but this was like 2000, no, this is 95. This is like the first or second record. So I'm not as into the early stuff. It reminds me a little bit of they have parallels to Cloud Cult, although I even think the early Cloud Cult as a whole works a little bit better, where they just kind of finally stopped doing the sort of bedroom garagey kind of production values and upped it, and they got to New Magnetic Wonder and then Travelers in Time and Space. So my 3 the Apples in Stereo CDs. They're not around anymore, sadly, but R.I.P. the guy Bill Doss, I think his name was. Which I think he was with another one of the bands on Elephant Six, and not Olivia Tremor Control. But all right, so I got 3 CDs from this band, the Appleseed Cast. My favorite being 2006's Peregrine, which I have this actually on vinyl too. I mean, they have like this sort of Midwest emo element, but it's post rock. It's got vocals. It's very textured rock. They were comparing to Radiohead. I can actually stomach their vocals though. The Appleseed Cast. They have a song called February on this album that I listen to. I try to listen to every year in February. So maybe not my favorite song on this album, but this is their best album to me. They've done too many records, but they sort of been a band. They do all these reunions, but they have this series called the Low Level Owls. They have Low Level Owl Volume 2 I have here, which came out in 2000. It was earlier than Peregrine. Yeah, I mean, it's trying to find the years on some of these CDs. I want to say it was like 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, somewhere in that range. Doesn't give it. You think it would. It's got, I saw them live one time. I did a double thing where I went to another show after that. But the year 2000, so they recorded this, so maybe it was 2001. They did Low Level Owl Volume 1, Low Level Owl Volume 2, but I don't have Volume 1. This is Volume 2, so first one might have been like the year 99. But then I have this album called Mare Vitalis, And I would see their CDs occasionally. I paid $9 for it back in 2007. I was thinking I was gonna get totally into the Appleseed Cast, and I mean, Peregrine is a great record, but their other records, the one that followed it, they had an album called Saga Mantha, which I thought was just okay. They've had other records, and I don't know, they weren't as the flow of that record works better. This record, I think I revisited this a few years ago too, and it just unfortunately the Appleseed Cast might be like so they've one standout record, and I think that's it for them. Yeah, some other nondescript stuff. Well, one thing that's kind of nondescript. I'm not even sure. I've obviously put this on the A's. It's a band called Aquilus, I think, and the album's called Arbor. It's like an EP. It's 3 tracks. Another one of these things I was probably given. I've not opened it, so I'm not gonna bother. My guess is probably like either folk music or black metal. But 3 tracks: Unveil, Harrowing, Duskfall, and A Late Shadows Skunk or Skull. It might on Blood Music in Helsinki, Finland. Blood Music. Oh, I know why, because that's where the Model of the Well. I bet you they gave this to me with Model of the Well when I bought those reissues. But yeah, it's probably just an EP because it's 3 tracks. But anyway, someday I maybe I'll get around to listening to it. And then all right, a couple more one-offs. Arafel. I have this. No, I don't have this on vinyl, but I love the band Martyr. Their album Feeding the Abscess. But this is kind of like that, but with more of a folk and like ethnic sound to it. But this album came out. I want to say it was like 2011 or 2012. It was either late 2000s or early 2000s. Band's from Australia. Oh no, Austra Machine, maybe Austrian. I remember they were recommended, I think, on Rate Your Music to me, and oh man, I'm struggling to find a lot of these dates. Unfortunately, most vinyl has the dates, but CD cases, there's the band. But this is a great record. I got a lot of. This is a great energy record. It's you could say it progressive folk metal. You could say it's a little bit like I'm saying their name wrong now, but that band that the heavy debriefings always talks about. I can't, but I compare it first and foremost maybe to Martyr, but it's not death. Martyr is death metal, but oh man, if you want an energy metal record with a ton of consistent energy, it's really fun, fast rhythms, female vocals, I believe. I think some male and female vocals. Arafel's album, it's called. I didn't even say that before. The For Battles Once Fought. Yeah, it has like that like that Celtic Nordic kind of druids, that kind of element, some just in the artwork. A lot of like that quote unquote folk metal does that. But great record though. But I can't remember what it was, either 2011 or 2012 maybe. So I showed this in the albums of the year from that year. This is Archangel's debut album. Living in a Dream was a great track. This came out in, it was like 93 or 94. I showed it in the year it came out. And of course, why is it in a double disc? I don't think it was a double disc. I have a double disc. It was 92 actually, but yeah, it's sort of like, I don't know, you call it heavy power pop or pop rock, guitar rock, early 90s, late 80s. It has that sheen of, it's a mixture of like the late 80s sound of pop music, guitar rock from that period, and early 90s. I mean, you could compare them to some other bands, but I think they were a little bit better. Dada was the one band I was associating with, although I think I like Dada a little bit more after now listening more Dada, but still, Archangel's debut album from 1992 I have on CD. So here's the what John Arch, and then I have Arch Matheo. So I have 3 copies of the one of the greatest progressive metal EPs ever, the Twist of Fate from 2003. Um, it's got cool artwork and stuff like that. John Arch has come back after 17 years with Jim Matheos, of course, playing on and co-writing Cheyenne. He co-wrote Relentless. I forget which one. He co-wrote one of them. But Mike Portnoy on drums. I think it was Joey Vera on bass. And here's the one I got with the case, the covering, slightly different artwork. I know that it was included on. It was included on a one of the vinyls, one of the Arch Matheos vinyls. I want to say. I was wanting to get like a separate version of it on vinyl, but I think it was on this the Sympathetic Resonance. So I have one copy of that. I think I have a second copy with the vinyl, but Sympathetic Resonance. I show this a lot of my like Fates Warning related stuff. Have it signed by maybe it was Jim Matheos. I got maybe Arch signed it in the pre-order because I've never met him, never seen him live. But 2011, which is an album I liked a lot initially. I'm not as keen on. I'm more keen on this album, Winter Ethereal, from 2019, the follow up, and might be the last thing John Arch ever does. I don't know. Hopefully not. But anyway, those are my. I don't think that the vinyl. I have that on vinyl too. Came with a CD, but anyway. So okay. All right. I'll go on. So this one, which really belongs with another band, but this is Archer Avenue. This is the members of Margot Nuclear So and So, at least Richard Edwards band before they formed Margot. I want to say it was like the early 2000s. I got wind of Margot in the mid 2000s when they started, but I've listened to this like once. I mean, it's more folky from my memory, but it has, I wonder if, it doesn't have Andy, what's his name? Andy is his brother, but I don't know if it's as folky as the way that Margot would go. Yeah, it came out in 2003 or was recorded in 2003 in Indiana, where they're from. The guys from Margot, Richard Edwards, of course. But I'm not really into the current Margot ever since those guys left. Andy Fry and his brother Matt maybe was the drummer, and some of the other members left. But yeah, but as a Margot fan, the early Margot and Nuclear So and So's fan, Archer Avenue. I was an astronaut. Mariel, or is it just I was an astronaut? I was an astronaut. It's kind of as a fan of that period, definitely worth having. All right, so then I have three. Well, just two. I thought I had more. Thing is, I'm missing one. I thought I had. Maybe I never bought it. So I've got only really two different archive CDs. I thought I had the CD Noise, but I just have. You All Look the Same to Me. Maybe they're masterpieces. The two albums that are their best albums from 2002. It's got the Epic Again, which is totally Pink Floyd Animals, and love this album. I've meant to do a video separately on archive, but I found this at cheapo. I don't know when it was like late 2000s when I was getting into them. And then they're from British band, very kind of electronic textured, kind of trip hop influence at times. And then Controlling Crowds in 2009, I bought two copies. I did this intentionally. I ordered it twice, but this was a little bit of a breakthrough. I thought they were going to get much bigger, and they put out so many records since. And a lot of them have been digital only or vinyl. It's a lot of money, but I don't think they've put out anything quite as good as this since. This is a easily almost 4.5 stars. Bullets. It's a dark album lyrically, but it flows. A lot of punchy riffs. If you like the punchy riff Purism Revolution, this band is definitely worth checking out. I mean, they've been around a lot longer because this came out in 2002. This is their second album. This is 2009. I thought I had Noise because Noise, the album that followed You All Look the Same to Me, is sort of the next ranked. But I mean, they put out a few records the last decade and change, like 15 years really, since this, that were really good too. And then they put out like a box set with vinyl. Just don't have the money. It's like the Marillion Fan Club. But anyway, these are my three archive CDs. So, all right. Prog metal from the 90s. Arc, Italian prog metal. That's singer sounds the closest to James LaBrie ever. It's a self-titled album. Archy from Italy, of course. It's like Italian prog from the 70s were aping the British prog. The Italian 90s prog metal were aping Dream Theater. But yeah, Archy, you want a singer that's trying to sound a lot like James LaBrie. This is one of them. But anyway, some people really like this CD. The import company I got this from, I think it was Wildside. They were raving about it. But Archy, or Arc. All right, so then I got one CD from this band, Arsis, the technical death metal band. They're from Baltimore. This is We Are the Nightmare from 2008, Nuclear Blast. I did see them live once. They were fun, have energetic live band. I mean, they're not as good as Martyr, but Arsis, I think there might be even still around, but this is a double disc. I didn't realize like demos and stuff on the second disc. But anyway, Arsis, We Are the Nightmare from 2008. All right, so then I got three CDs from this band, Deer Hunter Connection. As Tall as Lions, their final album. You Can't Take It With You, is it? You Can't Take It With You. In 2009. Great record. Circles, to me, always reminds me of the Deer Hunter and some other bands, but They're a fun, sort of very energetic, happy, rhythmic band with a great singer. Rob Parr, I don't know if he might have been partially on it, and Kimber actually was on a bonus track on this, like a hidden track. Um, but this is their best record to me, the final record. I even like the artwork. I have a T-shirt with this. I have it on vinyl. But then I have the previous record. I think it was like 2007, the self-titled. Um, not mistaken. It was 2006 maybe. And I like this. It has, what was the one? Stab City, Love, Love, Love. That's the one. Love, 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 Love. They just get these very infectious choruses at times. They were written up in alternative press the same time as Annuals. I remember that. It's like, oh, it's Tall Lions. And then they did a tour with Mute Math and the Deer Hunter at one point, and then Rob Parr was a touring member, ended up joining the Deer Hunter. I'm still with them now. And then I have this, which is like a self-titled EP, maybe. I know this was like out of print or it was rare, but this came out. This is like, yeah, it's an EP. It might have been to promote that. I don't even think they only had two. And then I have something from them on vinyl besides. You can't take it with you, but I have most of their records, not their entire catalog, but might have been a sampler or an EP that before their debut album, which is just you could get lost in this. You could get like seizures trying to stare what the artwork they use for this cover here. I mean the actual like this cover is a little more distinct. It reminds me of the Velveteen actually. Um, yeah, but anyways, Tall as Lion, self-titled, and then this. I think it's like they have a self-titled album and a self-titled EP. I could be wrong on that, but that's what this appears to be. But they're good at making very abstract-looking artwork. So, all right, I got one CD from Asia. This is a compilation called Then and Now. It's got Only Time Will Tell and Heat of the Moment. You know, I did not get into Asia. It's like this is saccharine music, even though it has the so many members. But some of this is it's Carl Palmer, John Wetton, Jeff Downes. Steve Howe's not on the picture on this. I don't know. Of course, a lot of this from the first album, but yeah, I struggled with Asia, and that's why I didn't buy any more than just this compilation, which came out in I don't know, it was 90, 85, 83, and 82. So it was just a sampler, really, compilation. It's not a greatest hits exactly, but anyway. Then and now. So it's like then and now, four songs from the early period, four songs from the late 80s, early 90s. That's why it's called Then and Now. Anyway. And all right, so I have two CDs. I thought I actually had a third from the At the Drive-In, the pre-Mars Volta band, of course, two of the members, Cedric and Omar Rodriguez Lopez. So Relationship Command, the one that everyone loves, and I like. It's probably the best thing they did. I've never been obsessed with it, but it's got its moments. But it's still a lot of punk and hardcore influences on it. And then I have what is this? This station is non-operational. This came out in like 2001. But this was like 97. All songs written by the like a compilation too. I know it because it had I thought it had a Pink Floyd cover. I could be wrong. But it has a DVD, but bonus DVD, multimedia extra, anthology. And it's interesting how I don't have the disc there. I only have one disc. It's interesting I just have the DVD. So the actual disc might be somewhere else, or I may not have it anymore actually. It's too bad, but my interest in At the Drive-In is limited, so I guess I can't feel so bad. But if I wanted to sell it, that's the downside of it. So anyway, At the Drive-In. All right, so I have a bunch of. I have several of discs from her. It's Nicole Atkins, singer songwriter from New Jersey, kind of dream pop at times. Reminds me of vocally sometimes of like Linda Ronstadt, but Neptune City, I think maybe her EP, Diamonds EP, I have here too. Might be her debut. I don't remember which one's the debut. One of them was. It's like an EP, a debut EP, but then Neptune City, the title track is great. A couple others, Party's Over, I like. I saw her live 2 or 3 times. One time, the last time, probably, I think was when she opened for Fountains of Wayne, the late Fountains of Wayne, which probably never be again. But, yeah, Bleeding Diamonds. But then I have the one that I think is her best from 2011. Right when I met my wife, I was listening to this. Mondo Amore. It came out early in the year. It was in my top 5, top 10 records. the first half of 2011. At the end, it was probably more like 20s or 30s, but the Tower's great. That's probably my favorite. The closing track, "Cry, Cry, Cry." Yeah, she's a really very kind of emotional, very interesting songwriter, good singer, using a lot of textures. Actually, her band I last saw at the was at the Turf Club. Change the Black Sea had this female guitarist that was amazing, but I don't know if she's on any of her albums. I know she changed her band. I saw her 3 times within about a 5-year period. Um, but then I have Slow Phaser, which I never even opened. I remember downloading it, which came out in 2014. This might have been crowdfunded. But anyway, so it's in the shrink wrap. And then I have these two like introducing things. This came out in 2008, so I don't know if I found these at a store. Maybe Tonight, The Way It Is, and Words of Love. It doesn't even have Neptune City. This is kind of surprising. It's from the Neptune City like album that was coming around the same time. That may have been 2008. I don't remember. The problem with these CDs is like a lot of them don't have years or the writing. It is in there, but it's just it's not very legible. So I think it was 2007, but it might have been 2008. So Nicole Atkins. All right. So then we got 3 discs from the progressive, heavy progressive metal, like progressive metal band in the vein of Galactic Cowboys and King's X from Texas, from Katy, Texas, but also having a Christian element. Atomic Opera. So they're classic, which I don't have the booklet anymore. I showed on the 90 whatever it was 94 video for Madman only. Joyride, Justice, New Dream. I know, but all fall down. It's great, very heavy riffs, very kind of detuned riffs. Great kind of energy, kind of poppy. It has the Beatles elements. It's just in that same formula, and identical to Galactic Cowboys. And Sam Taylor produced this, and then I think these other two that followed it also he produced, but these were more Christian, unfortunately. And so I Gospel Cola, it's right on the nose. This album came out, I want to say year 2000. It was on Metal Blade. I just found it I believe it was at Zia Records in Arizona. And what was it? Alpha and Oranges, which came out 99, so it was the year before. I don't think they're still around, Atomic Opera, but this might have been like a compilation for Madman. There's their whole listing, so I don't have Penguin Dust. That's the one I'm missing. There's their catalogs listed there. Read it. But yeah, I mean, I've said before, for King's X and Galactic Cowboys fans, I can get past the sort of religious element. They're great. This one seems slightly less religious. Gospel Cola, with a title like Gospel Cola, we're gonna be talking about Jesus, unfortunately. So, but I was like, you don't see him very often. I just bought it. It wasn't a lot of money in Arizona, because Arizona's pretty close to Texas. So, all right. So I've got 2 CDs from Avenged Sevenfold. I've only the 2 main ones, the early ones that people knew them for initially. I've got Waking the Fallen, 2005, I think it was. Just in some ways, they have their garage element, they have their sort of punk skater metal element, but they had the twin guitar solos, and then Portnoy talked about them, and I was like totally on board for a little while. They toured with Coheed and Cambria. Then on Lala.com, I did a trade. I ended up getting City of Evil. I don't have the artwork, but City of Evil is the one that followed that. So the early Avenged Sevenfold. I don't have the more recent ones, but yeah, they're a good band. I always like them. I know people crap on them. I think they're good. But I've never been obsessed with them. And I've got The Awful Truth, which I showed when I got the vinyl just a few weeks ago. Pre-Galactic Cowboys. Talking about them, the different lead singer, but self-titled album from, it was like 89 on Metal Blade. So they literally they changed their name, and they got Ben Huggins and Dane Sonnier. So all right, got 3 more left, and that's to close out the A's. Band called Averse. Their album The Endest Chance. The production on this bugged me. It's from 2010. It had bugged me at points, but this is really good. I think it was right when Sicketh had ended. This was one of the bands that's like, well, if you like Sicketh, you might like Averse, and I did. I mean, there's a lot of it's metal. It's very experimental metal. It's kind of chaotic at points, using some other instrumentation, some samples. I don't think it's quite as theatrical as maybe like even Akfiza or Sicketh, but I remember I found about this. I think it was on Last FM. It's like, well, Sicketh is gone. I want to listen to music like this. Any recommendations? Like, you ever heard of a verse, or maybe I'm a member of the band a verse, but I don't think they're around anymore. But on Music Tone, so 2010, that great year 2010, one of the albums that came out. And then okay, so I've got, just doing this in the right order, Aztec Jade, prog metal band who played on a Dream Theater tribute album. This is their album Concrete Eden. I think they may have given this to me at Prog Power. It came out 2002. Someone was from their label with Prog Power. They gave this to me. Yeah, it's kind of Dream Theater esque, like a lot of these bands, like Altura in some ways. But I remember I initially kind of thought they were pretty interesting, but it got to the point where I was like, oh, this music sounds kind of like Dream Theater. They want to be Dream Theater, Fates Warning, Queensryche. Some bands did it better than others and were more unique and original. But yeah, Aztec Jade. I mean, if you like prog metal from that period, early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, they're a band to check out. And like I said, they did it. They played on one of the Dream Theater tribute albums, although I don't think it was a great cover. It's like a basic copy. But Concrete Eden from 2002 on Steelheart Records. And then the final A in my A collection at this point is Azure, their debut album that came out in, was it 2021 or 22? I think it was 21. Of Brian and Angel's Beaks. It's been 22 actually. I picked this up just because I was liking it. I like that song, A Sailor Will Learn. The new album is a little too much for me, unfortunately. Um, but I mean, there's still some moments, but I know people are loving it a lot more than I am. Where's it's a Sailor? Yeah, Sailor Will Learn. That's the standout track, and I mean the best moments are really good on this, but this album to me didn't quite go off the rails quite as much as the new one, unfortunately. But of Brian and Angel's Beaks from, I think it was 22. So anyway, so that's it for the A's. I'll try to go on to the B's sometime in the next few days or maybe next week. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.